Good evening and welcome to Seattle, Washington for the last stop of the 2013 NexGen Tour. Tonight, the bus takes on Seattle Sockeye, and I am joined by a special guest in the booth, a NexGen 1.0 alumni. Phil Murray is here with me tonight. And Phil, this Seattle Sockeye team has picked up some new faces in the offseason.
That's right, Mario. They picked up Tim Garrett, coming back from the season from Double Wide. Adam Chicken Simon, coming down from up from Revolver, as well as Eric Dosberg, coming back for another season from the Netherlands. They've also checked out two guys who played well from the MLU this year, Donnie Clark and Mark Burton.
Both Clark and Burton will be on this opening O-line for the Fish. And NexGen starts out on defense. That was Jay Clark with the opening pull. BJ Joe Sefton receiving, centering to Danny Karlinski. Sockeye coming out in a side stack. This is Wallace. Wallace underneath to Donnie Clark. Clark dishes to Karlinski. Now Sefton. Nice continuation to Wallace. Wallace is going to put to the end zone. Freechild goes up and challenges. But there's Mark Burton with the opportunistic goal to start. The O-line for Sockeye holds.
Yeah, that wasn't a great look on that hook. That matchup with Freechild on Karlinski is not the matchup that Sockeye wants to throw to. Luckily, Burton was there.
This Sockeye offense has a lot of powerful weapons. Their handlers love to strike deep. Just bust up line. You're going to start to see Karlinski, even though he's a hub handler, he's going to take off deep. And everyone really has a full skill set there on that O-line. The D-line as well loves to play that small ball type of offense for the Fish. Look to them to really move the disc quickly, keep the stall count low on the turn. This will be Reed Costa pull. NexGen O-line. Scion receiving and a center to Montague. The bus setting up in a side stack. Couple poaches from Sockeye downfield, but Montague's going to fire deep immediately to Driscoll. Harkness is there. Driscoll boxing out, but this one floats just out of bounds. And here we'll take a look at the Sockeye D-line offense with their first opportunity for a break. This will be Adam Simon, also known as Chicken, marked by Han.
Right, Sockeye's going to look to move it really quickly here from side to side with their handlers, taking deep shots when they have them.
Koss throws behind Kinley. Kinley saves the turnover. Now Lynn's flipping to Chicken, and Chicken's going to float one up. Camden Allison Hall comes from the backside and snags the D. It's a little too much float on that one from Chicken. Allison Hall, marked by Jacob Spidell. Second-year Sockeye player. Now Montague, who also played for Sockeye last year, flips to Scion. Vert stack from the bus.
Bus is looking a little stagnant here downfield.
Driscoll breaks to Justin Lim. Lim was picked up just recently for the bus due to the absence of our U23 All-Stars. Now Jay Clark. Great patience so far from NexGen. Driscoll. Big swing to Hahn.
Not a lot going on downfield.
Lim to Allison Hall on the sideline. Back to Lim. NexGen using both sides of the field, not gaining a tremendous amount of yards. And now Scion's going to flip to the end zone. And Driscoll and Hahn both there.
Foul called. I think that's a good call.
So it looks like Harkness went up to challenge Driscoll.
They're just jostling a little bit there.
Driscoll calls the foul. Harkness not going to contest. This will be Driscoll's disc on the end zone. He'll be marked by Harkness. Hahn isolated. Beats Koss to the open side. So NexGen turns one over, then stays patient, and is rewarded with the goal downfield.
Yeah, they just moved it back and forth from side to side, waited till they had their one good deep shot, and they put it up there. Floated a little bit, but they were able to come down with it.
And that's a matchup that NexGen has been looking to take advantage of, especially in the last few games. Anyone who's guarding Driscoll, that's a tough one to win. If he's got to step on you deep, no one's going to catch him, and he's really hard to beat in the air. I like that NexGen has taken 2 early shots to Driscoll. They're going to have to do that because he's one of the few guys on this NexGen team who's experienced as well as athletic enough to hang with any defensive player for Sockeye.
Spin pull from Dylan, a vintage pull.
Sefton centers to Karlinski. Flood play leaves Caldwell wide open in the middle of the field. Now Burton. Burton on the sideline. Finds Sefton. Now Nate Castine. Castine's going to flip one up line to Sefton. Great continuation from Sockeye. And not a lot of pressure from the NexGen offense. An easy one for the studious BJ Sefton.
Great glasses. Yeah, that whole thing was set up by the opening pull play with Mike Caldwell coming across. That set up that good motion downfield.
What I liked about Sockeye's pull play is they set up their depth from the initial play very shallow, which made all of those flooding deep cutters a realistic threat. Really drew those defenders, and you saw Caldwell had tons of space underneath, caught the disc without a mark. Here you see Spencer Wallace
and Burton coming across, really occupying their defenders, and Montague was just poaching way over the top.
So 2-1. Koss waiting to pull. Reed Koss has really made a name for himself at the elite club level. Started out playing for the second Seattle team, Voodoo, and now has really come into his own as one of the best defenders in Club Ultimate, leading this D-line from a defensive strategy standpoint. This is Aaron Hahn
big
shooting for Lim. Lim.
Not in called.
Now Driscoll. Driscoll's going to dump to Clark. Clark in the backfield with Montague. 3 handlers back. Normally they have just 2, but Camden Nelson-Hall is going to flip a scuba over the top to Montague. Not known for his cute throws, but Camden fits one in perfectly to Simon.
I think he might have picked that one up from Freechild in their college days. Definitely. That's Lim, Justin, Seattle native.
This NexGen team picked up a couple up-and-comers out of the Seattle area, Justin Lim and Jesse Bolton, both Northwest High School graduates, big Ultimate school here in Seattle.
That's right.
Both play for Carleton with Montague and
Simon, yeah.
Those will be some of the future stars potentially on this Sockeye team in a few years.
Quite possibly. Mario, we'll see.
So, Phil, you played on this team a couple years ago.
This NexGen team, yes, I did.
What, coming into play against Sockeye has a reputation worldwide. Did you prepare differently for this game, knowing that you're playing against Sockeye that first year?
I don't think I prepared differently, but I was definitely very amped to play and beat my teammates, And I was helping NexGen as much as I could to figure out all their throws. That's a throw by Nate right there.
So Nate Castine with the IO forehand floats just a little bit. Ian Campbell just mistimed the jump just a bit.
Just a little bit over Ian right there.
And Burton did a nice job coming into the body of Campbell just enough to make Campbell go up early, and then you see Burton peel off at the right moment to bring down the goal. So 3-2 Sockeye.
pretty clean so far for Sockeye.
So we mentioned that NexGen is down a few players because of the U23 World Games. Mickle, Erickson, Morrissey, and Kearns not here. But not only that, they're down 2 players due to injury tonight. Jacob Janin and Chris Kocher not able to suit up tonight, playing it safe because of injuries. Allison Hall with his second scuba in a row finds Hahn underneath. Now Neal swings to Montague. Frank Devin Barrich on the mark. Montague, nice IO break, gets it back from Lim. Now the Carleton teammates throwing and going. And Montague flips it. Simon Montague wheeling and dealing against his former teammates. Montague putting on a show for his hometown Seattle crowd.
He's a tough matchup. He's got all the throws. He's very long, and he moves the disc very quickly, as you saw in that last point.
Defending Montague, just in those 3 throws, he broke a mark with an inside out. Then he throws and goes, and then with his momentum going the opposite way, throws a hammer over the top. That's just a really tough assignment for any defender, whether you're marking, whether you're handler defense, whether you're downfield, because Montague just has all the tools. So the NexGen D-line waits from left to right. Dillon, Clark, Freechild, Campbell, Bolton, Scion, and Camden Allison Hall on the far side. The O-lines holding each point. And now Sockeye receives. This is Allie Lennon. Bit of a miscommunication on the throw with Karlinski. Doesn't disrupt the set play. This is Caldwell. To Wallace. Great continuation again from Sockeye. Now Burton's going to sling it deep, but Camden Allison Hall is poaching from the backside. And it's going to steal this one from Sefton and Clark. Burton missed the poach from the backside.
Yeah, that's not someone Sockeye wants throwing it deep right now.
So Allison Hall gets the block. Now finds Scion to Clark. Clark to Dillon. Trent Dillon, the Pitt graduate, 2-time college national champion. Now in a high stall count situation. Nice mark by Lennon. And Dillon throws it away. Great pressure from the Fish. And now we'll see that quick moving offense get it going. Karlinski's going to flip this one to Wallace. Patented quick moving offense from the Fish. They don't like to let that mark get set.
That's right. And that turnover was caused by, here's you see the IO backhand right there. And that nice easy setup for Karlinski's throw.
Turnover caused, first of all, by great downfield pressure.
And the mark by Allie Lennon right there.
That defensive progression, when you talk about how you generate a block, how you generate a turnover, step one's got to be the downfield defenders not allowing an easy open side option. The Fish did that. Dillon squared up to his reset. The mark did a great job being unpredictable and forced a tough throw from Dillon. It's really a coverage sack. Sefton gets in the stats, but the whole team really created that defensive play.
Right, we definitely call that a coverage sack.
So Koss tries the inside out.
I think that one's on the roof, Mario. That one on the roof of the stadium.
Inside out of the stadium. Koss pleases the fans, but we'll probably hear it from his teammates after that one.
Yeah, that one's like in Top Gun. We're buzzing the tower there. We're trying to go in over the fans, bring it back in. Didn't quite turn over for Reed there.
So Koss, normally a sure-handed puller, this time is going to give NexGen a short field. NexGen is, since that first turnover by Montague on the first throw, has held their own, playing very patient offense. Here we're going to see NexGen just go right into their end zone set. Campbell, a lefty, great break thrower, now finds his Oregon teammate Aaron Hahn. Hahn to Driscoll. Driscoll marked by Simon. Driscoll's going to float it over the top, but Simon Montague gets big over Julian Hausman.
Yeah, it's been all Montague and all Driscoll so far for this NexGen O-line. And back-to-back goals, they go hammers from the right to the left.
So Driscoll to Montague, and Montague went up over Julian Hausman, who's another pickup for the Fish this year that we didn't mention. Hausman is coming off of a national championship for Pitt a couple of years ago.
2012.
Part of that team, was a teammate of Trent Dillon's and also Tyler DiGirolamo and Alex Thorne, former NexGen players. And the Sockeye team has really been excited about the progress they've seen from Hausman. They love that he's a defensive-minded player, very athletic. They like that he came from a rich pedigree of working hard in a system, and they're hoping Hausman can do just that for them this season. So another hold from NexGen. It's going to give Sockey's offense another chance at it. Here, Castine to Wallace. Sefton with the chop step. Now to Karlinski. Karlinski, a couple nice fakes, moves it to Clark. Sockeye doing a great job moving that disc within the first couple stall counts, really making it difficult for NexGen to set their marks. As Clark comes into the open side and now flips to Burton. Trap mark from the bus, flips to Karlinski. Sefton. Sefton's going to throw an easy hammer over the top. The routine flat hammer, so a number of hammer goals from right to left in this end zone. Sefton, this one untouchable for the defense.
Yeah, there's almost no wind out there, Mario. So all these throws are very easy.
So no breaks so far in this game, and during that point you might have seen the Sockeye D-line gathering to talk about adjustments that they need to make.
That's right, Mario. I think they might go zone this point right here.
Sockeye in the last couple of years has been known to make you think as an offense. They really change things up a lot. They don't like the offenses to get into a rhythm. We'll see if they try to do that here. This is Frank Devin Barrich coming down hard on the mark as Lim centers to Montague. Big flood play out of a horizontal. Campbell reads Kinley's poach and takes the free yards. Now Driscoll's going to fire deep. Trent Dillon in the area is going to bring it down with the left hand. The NexGen offense holds again, and they're just making plays over these Fish defenders. Couple of these throws haven't been perfect, but we've seen Montague make a couple plays here. Trent Dillon reads it just right. Koss not quite able to get there, and Driscoll has his second assist in 2 0 points.
That's right. That was another great throw by Will Driscoll. Only where Dillon could catch that one.
And that's something that we've seen Driscoll do in the last couple games. He's really start to take more chances as a thrower, and he's been very potent with his throws. Will Driscoll, one of the up-and-coming players at the elite club level, won a national championship with double wide last year, and this is just his 4th year playing Ultimate. Came off a high school career playing basketball, and now is putting that athleticism to use for NexGen and this year for double wide. So NexGen on serve with Sockeye 5-5. We'll be back after a commercial. And welcome back as we take a look at the NexGen huddle. Their offense has a clean slate so far, just a couple of turnovers. That guy Simon Montague has been the story so far. He and Driscoll have been involved with almost all the goals for NexGen. Montague putting on a show tonight for his hometown crowd.
That's right. I think he brought his whole family out tonight.
So the Montagues are here and looking at this Seattle crowd, one of our biggest crowds of the tour. Can always count on the Seattle community to support their teams. Tonight, no different. And here we see your ex-UW teammate, Joe Sefton, bringing it down to Danny Karlinski. Back to Sefton. So the set play foiled by this NexGen defense as Burton comes underneath. Burton flips to Sefton. Sefton getting a lot of respect, catching a lot of easy unders. Wallace marked by Bolton.
Sockeye's having a real difficult time getting open right now.
And a lot of that because of guys like that. Freechild, a great dump defender. Sefton, clever flip to Burton. BJ Sefton coming over and playing O-line so far tonight. Played a lot of D-line last year, but his skill set.
Yeah, you're going to see Joe mostly playing O-line this year. One of the best ultimate players in the world.
And here, flawless Spencer Wallace shows a chink in the armor.
Yeah.
And misses to Castine.
Yeah, Nate's slightly injured right now. He tore his hamstring in January, so that's a catch he makes in October.
So here Freechild picks up. NexGen, one of their first looks at a break opportunity. Now Bolton, vert stack for the bus. Freechild, and Donnie Clark almost came away with a block. Now Scion underneath to Neal.
I'm not sure if I like this backhand force by Sockeye with Freechild on the field. Oh.
Yeah. Well, here the scuba doesn't work for Neal. Campbell not able to come up with it.
Short field for Sockeye here.
Short field, and now Sefton trying to milk one into the goal. Pointing hammer, but it's going to find Karlinski. Karlinski on his own goal line. It's going to flip it easily to Castine. So another hold. 6-5 Sockeye. So far, Sockeye's offense has looked really clean. The mistakes they're making, just an execution error by Wallace this time, and maybe a choice error by Burton earlier. But so far, Sockeye's offense has looked very clean, great spacing, great timing, and that's what they're known for, that horizontal style offense, quick disc movement for Sockeye.
Right. They play definitely a possession style. They're very patient. They're going to move it around with their handlers until they find something good downfield to throw to. There we see Chicken, one of our new players, playing D-line this year for Sockeye.
Adam Simon, one of the more traveled players in Elite Ultimate, has played in the at least the semis of Nationals for some team in the past 4 or 5, maybe 6 seasons even. He's played with Boston, played with Revolver for the past couple seasons, and now playing with Sockeye. So a lot of experience from Simon on that D-line for Sockeye, and that's really no different than any of the other Sockeye D-line players. Harkness been playing D-line for a while. Koss, Kinley, Devin Barrich, all very experienced on this Sockeye D-line. Now Montague trying to reset to Lim, marked by Simon. Mitch Scion now reaches for that low release backhand that's been successful a lot for him on this tour. But Duncan Lynn gets his foot in the way and draws contact with Scion. Really a nice mark there by Lynn.
Yeah, he has a deceptively good mark despite his size at only 5'6".
Jay Clark finds Hahn despite the bidding costs. Now Hahn underneath to Scion. And Montague.
More patient offense by NexGen.
Montague looking far side is going to float one but no one reacts for the Fish defense. The floaty throw from Montague lands in the hands of Oregon standout Aaron Hahn, and the Fish D not going to be happy that they're not generating turnovers.
Yeah, everyone just standing and watching there on that D point when that throw went up. Not really much to say about that. It's pretty easy.
So Montague again with the hammer. That's NexGen's third hammer goal of the night.
Couple by Sockeye, too. At least one.
So two teams whose D-lines are notorious for generating chaos, not able to get the disc away from the O-line here. Lennon will bring it down, centering to Sefton. Horizontal stack. And here we see that flood play again, leaving Wallace wide open underneath. And Wallace throws into some chaos. And now NexGen will have a chance to get the first break of the game. Campbell's going to find Trent Dillon. Ian Campbell finds Trent Dillon for the first break of the game. Wallace's second turnover.
Yeah, that was just a good poach off.
Campbell came in, poaching a bit off of that rail cutter. Just a heads-up play by Campbell, and then floats nicely to the backside. Ian Campbell, one of our substitute pickups for NexGen, making a play here at a big moment. And coming into this game, I don't know if even NexGen was expecting to come out and just be crushing this Sockeye team, who's looking to be, one of the more polished rosters that we've seen so far on the tour. When we started the NexGen tour, most of the rosters in the club scene had maybe 1 week of practice, maybe a couple practices. This Sockeye team's had 3 to 4 weeks as a roster and are looking to go in firing on all cylinders this weekend in Atlanta. And this NexGen offense has been stingy with the disc.
That's right. I'm not really surprised too much about the only one turnover or one break we've had so far. Both teams, I think, have a very similar style of play, with moving the disc through their handlers and playing very stingy downfield defense, not letting any unders happen. So having only one break is not that surprising.
Now Karlinski working out of a side stack. Caldwell reads the poach off the back of the stack well. Now finding Castine, and Castine's going to flip for the easy goal. So here we see NexGen trying to force the disc back into that side stack, but that just makes the break thrower's eyes light up. Here we see two break throws in a row. First the IO, which leads Castine to a nice quick release backhand.
Without even setting his pivot there, just quick and easy to the break side. Nothing Camden Allison Hall can do about that.
It's an interesting strategy that I think works more in college, to force back into the side stack. But in my personal opinion, as an offensive handler playing side stack, when a defensive team comes down and tries to force me into that side stack, they're assuming that the mark can do their job. But at the elite level, every O handler can break any mark when they have that much space to throw to. So you're really giving up that big around break or the deadly inside out break when you force back into the stack. So it didn't work for NexGen that time. Here we see NexGen coming out in a side stack and the Fish coming down in a junk look.
They also forced into the stack that time.
Now Hahn on the sideline, marked by Titcomb. Two Titcombs on the Fish roster this year, both Exton and Vero. Vero Titcomb out with an injury. Exton holding up the family name tonight here for the Fish. This is Montague with the disc. Montague finds Hahn. Lim, marked by Kinley. Kinley goes for the trap mark, but Clark beats Koss up line. Clark to Bolton. Great patience from NexGen. All seem very composed with the disc. Clark blitzing up line, but Bolton swings easily to Montague, and Montague is going to blade in the backhand to a bidding Trent Dillon. NexGen is making plays, and they go into halftime with a 1-break lead. Montague, masterful backhand to Dillon.
That was an incredible catch. Catching that right there, keeping himself in bounds, that's a very athletic, great play by Dillon.
So NexGen is firing on all cylinders. Sockeye can't get the disc away from this offensive team. The Fish going to bring it in, try to muster some energy and some chaos and confusion to try to rip the disc away from NexGen, but NexGen playing maybe their best game of the tour so far on offense. We'll be back for more action from Seattle in the second half. So welcome back to Seattle. The story of the night tonight has been the hammer throw. That time we saw Montague hitting Driscoll. Now Driscoll hits Montague and returns the favor. And that throw has been working for both times. Here as we see Sefton to Burton. And this last one, Montague with the sky ball to Hahn. That throw's been working on a night that hasn't seen any wind. Perfect conditions for ultimate. And this Sockeye team's really going to need to generate some energy. And one of the guys, Phil, that I know can do that is our Seattle Rainmaker teammate, Donnie Clark.
That's right. Donnie is a young player out of UW. Former track star in high school. Has not been playing very long, but might be the second fastest person I've ever played against, besides Bo Kittredge.
And Donnie Clark, not only is he a great athlete, but he's a really, really interesting individual. He's got what I call that kindergarten confidence. And what I mean by that, when I say that, is when you're in kindergarten, if you ask anyone if they're good at drawing, they're going to say, yeah, I'm good at drawing. Are you good at dancing? Kindergartner's going to say, yeah, I'm good at dancing. When you get older, if you ask someone if they're good at drawing, good at dancing, they're going to be like, I don't really know. Donnie's the kind of guy that you ask him if he likes to do anything, he's going to say, yeah, I love it. And he's going to start bouncing around. And if you talk about ultimate and running fast and having fun and playing hard, Donnie loves that too.
That's Donnie Clark, you know. He's a Labrador Retriever, right? He's just happy to be here. Big smile on his face, right? Full of energy. Could be all the sugar he eats, who knows? But great, athletic, energetic player. Hoping Sockeye can, or Sockey's hoping that he can make a couple plays for them on the O-line.
So NexGen took half, getting the only break of the game. Koss standing next to Simon, Spidell, Harkness, Devin Barrich, Garrett, and Lennon. We'll try to take this one away from NexGen, but stingy offense, patient play, and some great plays have led NexGen to their 8-7 lead. Montague's been in the middle of it, but we've also seen great plays from Driscoll as Reed Koss pulls this one deep, and this one is also going to drift out of bounds. Kind of interesting, Phil. On a not windy night, we've seen a number of pulls drift out of bounds. I don't know if the wind is different when it gets up high.
I think the wind has picked up a little bit, but not enough to affect any pulls, I wouldn't think.
That wind is in a downwind breeze for NexGen right now, going right to left across your screen. Now Hahn with the disc. NexGen out of the vert stack. Trap mark from Koss. Forces a tough throw. Montague sees Hahn, and Montague's going to drop another dime.
There it is again. Sockeye just over pursuing on the unders, leaving that break side hammer throw wide open.
And if you're going to give up a throw, the break side hammer, if a team can hit it, is a throw that sometimes you're okay with giving up, but this NexGen team has proven that they can hit it. That time Sockeye did a nice job forcing NexGen into a tough situation, a situation that they were able to generate a turnover in the first half. with that sideline trap mark.
Right, and NexGen was just able to work through that broken play, luckily catching it, Montague, on that unusual swing pass by Hahn, and then giving and going almost, really.
The classic hammer, crossfield hammer, give, go.
That's right. That's just like we drew it up.
So Montague throws his third hammer assist of the evening, and Hahn with his second hammer goal catch. Jay Clark with a floaty pull. This one is going to hang inbounds, and Sefton brings it down to Karlinski with Freechild absolutely crushing 70 yards to pick up Freechild. Now Sefton, marked by Neal, finds Karlinski. Great pressure here from NexGen. Nate Castine absolutely bombs one. This one drifting, and it's going to fly out of bounds. Bit of an irresponsible huck there from Castine.
Right, he's known for making or trying to make plays with his throws. Not the best throw from Nate there. Just kind of way too much outside in on that backhand.
So Clark's going to pick up here, marked by Burton. Scion in the backfield, Driscoll at the top of the stack. Freechild isolated, had space on Castine, but swing went off to Lim, and now Neal. Neal marked by Sefton. Lim throwing and going with Neal as Freechild beats his man up line, and he's going to shoot it deep immediately to Driscoll. And Driscoll's going to float one out easily to Scion. Driscoll asking the crowd, what do you want me to do next? As NexGen is looking razor sharp on this Tuesday evening.
That's right. Sockey's O-line just giving it away, and that's been a story for Sockeye the past couple of years. If they're turning it over, it's probably a goal for the D-line. And two great break throws by NexGen there from Freechild past the diving Castine, and then Driscoll right there with another floaty flick to Scion, who gives a little cha-cha after the goal.
So NexGen's offense, as you would expect at the end of the tour, looks great, but in the conditions and the situation they're in, I don't think it's so expected, considering they're missing 6 players from the original roster that they started with.
That's right, and a huge player in Jimmy Mickle, right? One of their best players on their O-line, a hub handler and downfield cutter who's doing a lot for them.
I think it really speaks to the eye of Kevin Minderhout for picking out great talent. Justin Lim, Jesse Bolton, and Ian Campbell have stepped in and filled the necessary roles for NexGen to keep working efficiently. Here we see Karlinski finding Harkness underneath.
They brought Harkness over on the O-line now after a couple breaks here.
So Sockeye switching it up. Harkness finds Clark to Burton. Burton's going to shoot one deep. This one might be out of reach as Burton can't find Wallace. Burton with another huck turnover. Wallace not pleased. And Montague is going to have a chance for the third break for NexGen. This would be their second in a row. NexGen trying to pull away.
Right. You look for Montague and Freechild here to do a lot of give and going. They work very well together.
Campbell floats this one way up, and Trent Dillon maintains composure despite the bidding. Dillon and another bobble, but NexGen again making the plays. Freechild resets to Simon. And now things calm back down. Great composure by Montague as he takes a reset deep in his own territory. Floats this one crossfield to Allison Hall. Freechild begging for it, but Allison Hall says no, and Montague comes back to get it. Now he's going to shoot deep to Freechild. Freechild has steps on Sefton. Sefton lays out big. Doesn't have anything. Freechild resets to Campbell, and Trent Dillon catches his third goal of the evening and unfortunately takes a spill going out of bounds, but an incredible play again by NexGen. They are just making all the plays, and Sockeye has no answer.
Right, yeah. They just made a lot of great concentration plays there on a lot of bobble catches. And
Dillon, you saw just roasted up line, and Campbell with a nice space throw, and unfortunately Trent Dillon takes a tumble there.
Yep.
And Sockeye is going to call a timeout. We'll be back after our first timeout of the second half. NexGen pulling away from Sockeye. So NexGen, on their last stop of the tour, is having their best game of the tour. And there we see Will Driscoll stepping up his facial hair game and also stepping up his actual game. Has had a wonderful night throwing as well as receiving. And Trent Dillon has been getting open at will and making diving catches, saving the day for NexGen. Driscoll looking clean, but looking dirty as well.
In more ways than one. Best facial hair out there, I would say. The only guy I would say would rival maybe on Sockeye would be Wallace, but I think he's pretty clean cut right now.
I don't know if we'll get a look at Dylan Freechild's facial hair, but he's got a little something going on.
Couple whiskers. Huge pull.
Huge bladey pull by Clark. This one's going to come in at a standstill. Karlinski picking up. MC comes out of the stack. Karlinski flips the lefty backhand over the top. Donnie Clark puts on a cutting clinic against Lim. Burton underneath.
Burton's got to be careful here. He's throwing 2 hook turnovers.
Now Sefton to Karlinski. Castine finds steps just outside his end zone. Nice break throw from Nate Castine. Sockeye's offense does what it does best. Keeps that stall count low. Throws fakes and breaks the mark. Right. Easy goal there to stop the bleeding from Sockeye.
They just kept it real simple, real short. Not going to look deep at all here on this O point.
You know, Sockeye's one of those teams that when they just decide to throw passes that are 15 yards or less, they are so frustrating to defend because they have great disc skills and they really just keep that disc moving, making it really difficult to set a mark and gain defensive position.
Right, when you have 5 of 7 guys on your line who could be quote-unquote handlers, but who run like cutters, it's very difficult to guard.
And that's one thing that the Seattle program has done really well over the past 5 years is they've really just taken great athletes, and this community just loves to play Goaltimate, loves to play mini, and so those skills, when you're always playing that small ball type of game, moving the disc quickly, you get really comfortable throwing all those throws. And
right.
It shows in their O-line.
And you look at someone like Montague here who's cutting now, was handling for most of the game, and in college he cuts, right? And out here he's handling.
Montague also a Seattle native. So the NexGen offense played a very clean game so far. We see their patience again. This is Hahn. Hahn had Neal on the open side, but broke the mark to Campbell instead. Campbell's going to launch it deep to Hahn. Hahn has steps and size. Koss is there. But Hahn just outsizes Koss for another goal.
He kept great position that whole time as that huck went up. As you see here, he just kind of waits very patiently and makes his great timing.
Koss unhappy that he couldn't make a play, and when you're going up beating Reed Koss and Sam Harkness,
2 great leapers,
2 of the best in the air on this Sockeye team. And
no match for Hahn, though.
No match for Hahn, and Hahn, one of the best in the game at using his athleticism and his body to just go up and rip it away from defenders. NexGen, a 4-point lead, and I can't say anyone would have predicted this tonight.
Definitely not, Mario. I mean, I wouldn't have. But then again, I'm a Sockeye homer.
And it's a transition game for me as well. This is the last game of the tour. It'll be my last game commentating. And then I'll actually be joining you down in Atlanta and joining Sockeye this year. So here we see Sefton bring it down for the Fish. Wallace is going to flip it to an upline cut from Karlinski.
Here's Donnie Clark.
Donnie Clark. Just too much. And a
little bit of showing off.
A round off back handspring for the electrifying Donnie Clark.
You know he's happy.
And you can see it just in the way he bounces up and down. Watch him, flips it. You can see that smile in his body language. That Donnie Clark is loving it. And that's what the Fish will want to see from him all season.
Donald Draper Clark.
I give the landing a 9.4.
Yeah, he almost stuck it. You know. Sockeye looking to come out with a break here.
Sockeye really looking to just come out and force a turnover.
Yeah.
I think that they have forced less than 5 turnovers the entire game, and that's, I don't think because of bad defense, but just because of really great offense by NexGen.
They've been making all the plays. Great catches, great throws.
Kinley comes in this time and steals one from Clark.
You know, that's Kinley's first point playing today.
Now, here we see that throw and go offense from the Fish as they work into their end zone set. Garrett resets to Harkness, and Harkness outthrows Garrett. A little bit of miscommunication on the direction of that throw and the cut. Hausman marking Montague, finds Allison Hall. Allison Hall's going to rip one deep. Justin Lim has steps, and Justin Lim beats Matt Skip Sewell for NexGen's 13th goal of the game. NexGen holds again.
Camden always seems to surprise people with a huck out of nowhere. They don't think he's going to huck it, and then he comes up with a pretty decent throw for a goal right there. Not the best throw, right? It's not perfect, but it does what it needs to do there.
And if you've been watching the tour, you wouldn't expect Allison Hall to be the one ripping it deep. I can't say he's had more than a few huck attempts even this whole tour, but this time he had the opportunity, and Lim had beaten his defender by enough.
Right, I've been there. When I was on tour, I was not the guy hucking, but you get towards that 14th, 15th game, you feel comfortable with everybody. You know, you've been throwing almost every day. That huck is just, you think you got it, and he did there.
So here tonight, it's been some NexGen veterans who have done the dirty work for the bus. Simon Montague, really impressed in the first half. Driscoll, his second tour, playing great. And Camden Allison Hall in his second tour throws a huck goal here as Sockeye is working the other way. Mike Caldwell's got Burton wide open in the end zone. So the Fish finally get an easy one. But really the onus is on the defense now to get the Fish back in the game. Both lines for the Fish tonight haven't been able to have the type of game that they wanted. This Sockeye team tries to go through a game with just a handful of turnovers is their goal. And if they can get broken once, maybe twice, that's acceptable. But it's already been 3 or 4 breaks tonight, and the defense is always expected to get at least 4 breaks per game to win. So far, no breaks for the NexGen D-line and only a few turnovers generated.
Yeah, and I think you got to credit NexGen for not turning it over rather than fault Sockeye. for not generating those turnovers. You know, NexGen's been very careful with the disc. They've been putting good throws out.
And it seems that every time that NexGen does try to make a play, or when Sockeye has an opportunity to force a coverage sack, NexGen just makes a play.
And that, I mean, that's why those NexGen guys are out there. They are playmakers for their respective college and club teams, and you put 14, 15 of them together, there are going to be a lot of plays happening.
So here we see the first offsides call of the night against Sockeye. The second infraction will give NexGen the disc at the 50-yard line. So Simon is going to re-pull this one for the Fish. This Sockeye defense, Lennon, Simon, Devin Barrich, Lynn, Koss, Kinley, and Spidell. Big floaty pull from Simon, and
offsides again.
Another offsides call, despite the good pull by Simon, is going to give NexGen the disc at half field.
Surprising. Back-to-back offsides there.
So NexGen on the doorstep here of their first ever victory against Seattle Sockeye. This is one of the only teams that NexGen has never beaten, as Jay Clark receives a backhand break from Montague. Now Montague, vert stack from the bus. Both cutters split, Koss bids. Montague gets it back. Montague, this time there might have been contact from Lennon on that throw. Montague does not normally misfire on that high release backhand. And Lennon.
Simon really pivots into the mark there a lot.
See, he's reaching through, and there you saw that the contact was very early when he was winding up.
Yeah, it looks like Ali just got a piece of the disc when he still had it in his hands.
Kinley providing pressure, but not able to get there against Clark. And now Montague misfires on an easy one.
The switch there by Lennon and Kinley caused that miscommunication and missed throw.
So Frank Devin Barrich looking to reset to Kinley. Here we see that Sockeye offense moving it quickly. Devin Barrich coming all the way back around is going to flip this one over to Tyler Kinley, and Sockeye gets their first break of the night.
Here comes Kinley.
H.C. Kinley wearing his normal Sockeye jersey. Says Kinley on the back. Unfortunately for him this year for the Rainmakers, his jersey somehow mysteriously had the initials H.C.
I wonder where that came from.
I don't know where it came from, but here comes Kinley getting a block and a goal tonight for Sockeye, who's been the spark. But the story has been this NexGen offense. Sockeye bringing it in, and NexGen's leader, Kevin Minderhout, is firing up the crowd here from the booth as the fans are getting into it in the stands.
Yeah, I think Kevin's got a lot of extra discs he doesn't want to take back to Eugene tonight.
Probably true. Also wants the crowd to have a great time as Ted Werble throws discs into the crowd. Phil, you had the honor of working with Kevin.
I did.
That first year.
Great guy.
Great guy.
He could wash his feet a little bit more, though.
Probably true.
He taught me a great thing. You can eat corn on the cob raw. I didn't know that. But he told me it was just like an apple. You just kind of rub it off a little bit, and you peel down the husk, and you just go for it.
So, a wealth of knowledge from Minderhout, if you ever get a chance to talk to him. I want to say thank you to our sponsors out of Portland, Oregon, Elemental Technology, bringing you this high-def live streaming capability. They've been our sponsors all tour. Here the bus is O-line. as Hahn is going to fire deep to Driscoll. This is a tough matchup for Harkness. Harkness goes up early, provides pressure, but Will Driscoll steadies himself on the blacktop.
You know, NexGen's had a lot of bobble discs, but they've caught them all this game.
And that's been the theme of the night, is that despite the fact that they're bobbling some discs, they end up making the play. Harkness not able to make the play. So NexGen's next O point will be a chance for the win. And this has been one of our quickest games of the tour because of the great offense by NexGen. And I can't say I'm that surprised. Now the players are making plays. Driscoll, a monster game. Aaron Hahn throwing deep to Driscoll. Simon Montague running the show, and Trent Dillon laying out and getting open. These guys are the future of the sport, and if there's any game to look at, it's this one. Normally you'd expect guys like Dylan Freechild to be leading the way, but tonight he's defaulted to his teammates, who are all having maybe their best games of the tour as a team and as individuals. Here's Clark with the pull, and Sefton brings it down for the Sockeye offense to Burton. Burton looks off Karlinski, and Trent Dillon gets his hand on the disc, but Castine brings it down. Now Caldwell fakes the hook to Burton and brings it down.
Pick called. Dylan Freechild not within 10 feet, though.
And give credit to the NexGen defenders, two of the best in the game. Dylan Freechild and Trent Dillon. Nobody defends handlers like those two guys. Freechild forced Karlinski up line, as Karlinski is going to shoot it deep to Burton. Misfires, and NexGen now has a chance to take the game away from Sockeye on their home turf. Zion throws and goes with Lim. Lim to Neal underneath. Back to Lim. Now Trent Dillon. Freechild, wouldn't be surprised to see him try to shoot one deep on the last play of the tour. Now Trent Dillon.
Freechild rushing deep.
Jay Clark with the big swing. Now Jesse Bolton. Jesse Bolton had 3 Huck goals against Furious George in our last game, and I think this time shows some poise and shows a bit of veteran savvy for a youngster. Calls a timeout, knowing that this could be the final point of the game, and they need to get the right people in the right places. So the story of the night has been the playmaking ability of the NexGen veterans, accompanied by Trent Dillon getting open and making plays for their offense. Phil, what's going on in that Sockeye huddle? What are they talking about to try to get back in this game?
I think they're going to start with their marks, right? They've been getting broken a lot with their backhands, so they're going to really focus on their mark and focus on pressuring the undercuts by NexGen, but also bringing help off the back if there's any sort of deep looks. I think NexGen, though, is going to be very patient here and move the disc just incrementally downfield with short throws.
If their set play doesn't work, I would not be surprised at all if Freechild came out of the stack and looks to throw the goal or be the primary cutter off of this first cut. We'll see. Bolton going to be picking up the disc. Angled stack for NexGen. Lim at the top. From right to left, it's Lim, Sion, Dillon, Neal, Freechild, and Clark. Lim blows up line. Going to look to reset to Sion. Nice flat throw there by Bolton to reset to Sion. Now Lim underneath. He's got Clark. NexGen 30 yards out from another victory. Now Freechild. Freechild looking to the end zone. Hammer throw across to Justin Lim, who brings it down and swings to Bolton. Everybody making plays for the All-Stars. Looks like the observer on the far side is talking to Freechild and Clark about maybe the disc being down.
Let's take a look at it here.
We're going to see Freechild going cross field. Tough to tell from that angle. It was ruled up on the field. Now Bolton looking at his IO lane. He's going to try to hand it off to Freechild. Freechild's going to try to throw this one to the end zone. You can see he wants it. Lim to Freechild, and Freechild will throw to Trent Dillon. Dylan Freechild to Trent Dillon for the win. And you wouldn't have it any other way. The next-gen standout, Dylan Freechild, one of the best players in the world, throws to a new next-gen player and then maybe the next up-and-comer, Trent Dillon, for the final goal of the Next-Gen Tour 2013.
That's right.
Bill, as a Sockeye player, this is going to be a tough huddle to be in after the game. But you got to give all the credit to NexGen for just playing a flawless game. Offensively, they had less than 5 turnovers, I think, the entire game.
Yeah, they definitely played their best game of the tour tonight, even with losing some of their players and picking up some actually quality players in Bolton, Lim, and Campbell. But it was really just all Driscoll and Montague, and then that last point, you knew, Mario, that Dylan Freechild would take over, and as you saw, it was lots of give and goes, quick movement by one of the quickest players in the game, Dylan Freechild.
So Freechild finishes his next-gen tour, the 3rd of his career. Freechild will go down as the winningest next-gen player ever. Unfortunately, Jimmy Mickle was not here because of his U23 experience. Otherwise, he would have been the winningest player ever.
I'm sure he'll receive a text about it tonight.
I'm sure he's out there listening as well, and I'm sure he's also proud of his next-gen crew for their victory tonight, as NexGen and Sockeye thanks their hometown crowd. Man, what a game. I want to say thank you to the entire NexGen crew, Ian Lunger, Adam Bilbaino, all tour, incredible camera work. Of course, Vin Bowie, the man with the plan, behind the curtain of Oz, working with Kimber Coles on the replay machine. Incredible job by them tonight and the whole tour. And of course, Kevin Minderhout, the one and only, the rabble-rouser, the man with the vision, the man with the plan, the driver of the bus, the one and only dad, Kevin Minderhout, the man who makes it all happen. My name is Mario O'Brien for Phil Murray. Thanks for listening. We'll see you when we see you.
FTOTNGB.